All right, so part 3, Rome, and then review for the test. So we're looking at the greatness of Rome, and of course that's the Colosseum. You can see the difference now between the Roman and the Greek architecture. You have a lot of, they like to show off the arch. So the geography of Rome. So it's one of the most influential civilizations to emerge in the ancient world. Was Rome. Rome was located on the Fertile Plain in the center of Italy, close to the west coast. And to the north, you had the Alps mountains that protected Rome from invaders. To the west, you have the sea provided further protection. And then the west, the sea was also a route for expansion, trade, and everything else. So they kind of had the best of both worlds in there. So the Romans were the heir to the Greek culture. They believed in some of the same gods and goddesses as the Greeks. Also, although they spoke Latin, not Greek, what they ended up doing is just changing the Greek gods into Latin named gods. So the Romans also studied and imitated the Greek achievements in science, art, history, and literature. And of course, they delighted in making copies of the famous Greek sculptures. So here's the early Roman Republic. And like I said, Rome is here on the west coast, protected by the Alps. But right here, a great spot for trading and everything else with the rest of the Mediterranean. So the Roman Republic. So early Rome contained two main social classes. So you had the patricians, which were the wealthy landowning families, and you had the plebeians, which are the small farmers, craftsmen, merchants, so pretty much the commoners. So in early times, the Romans overthrew their kings, and they made Rome into a republic. So a republic's a little bit different than the direct democracy the Greeks had. So this was a system of government by representatives. So Rome was governed by a patrician assembly known as the Senate, and it had was elected officials, and those people became the council. So the plebeians also chose tribunes, and these would be speakers who would represent them. All right, so the 12 tables. 12 tables is their set of laws. So Rome flourished in part because they strongly supported the rule of law. Government officials were not above the law, nor could they act outside the law. So the Roman Republic issued what was called the 12 tables to protect the plebeians. So these written laws were placed in public places, public meeting places for everybody to see. The 12 tables covered civil, which is between two people, criminal, which is a person versus the state, and religious laws, and provided a foundation for later Roman laws of code. So under Roman law, all citizens were equal under the law, meaning that they were subject to the same rules and laws. So here's some of the rules from the 12 tables. Some of these are going to be very tough. So a badly deformed child shall be killed. That's kind of coming from the Spartans. So if a person has injured another's limb, let there be retaliation in kind unless he agrees to compensation. So it's not exactly eye for an eye. If you can pay the person, then you do that. If a patron shall defund his client, his life shall be forfeited, he'll be killed. Those convicted of speaking false witness shall be flung from the Terrapin Rock, so they're killed. The penalty for a judge who has been found guilty of receiving a bribe in a decision shall be death, also capital punishment. The putting to death of any man who has not been convicted is forbidden, and no marriage shall take place between the two groups, the patricians and plebeians. So you were stuck in your social area in your class, whatever class that you were born into. And here's some different pictures of architecture from the Romans. So the Romans contributed the important concept of what we know of as a contract agreement between two people. So the idea that a private agreement between two people can be enforced by a government once people have entered into that contract. So the Romans also established rules for ownership of property, and the Romans also established important legal processes to promote justice, a lot of which we have today. So if people had a legal dispute, they often went to an official to argue their case, just like we do. The official made a judgment, which the parties could appeal. So if you don't like the ruling the judge gave you, or whoever was the official, you could appeal it. People accused of crimes had the right to a trial in a court. The accused person was considered innocent until they were proven guilty, just like we have today. And we still use these same practices today. So by 275 BC, Rome already ruled the entire Italian peninsula. After uniting Italy, Rome defeated their main trading rival, Carthage, which was a big one at that time, located just across the Mediterranean in North Africa. This victory made Rome the leading power of the Mediterranean. Rome next acquired territories all the way out to Spain, North Africa, and then into the eastern Mediterranean. Roman generals like Julius Caesar competed for conquest of Spain and Gaul, which is France today. So when Caesar's enemies in the Senate, he comes back, this great general, recalled him to Rome, Caesar returned with his army, which you're not supposed to do, and he declared himself dictator for life. This led the Roman officials in the government to fear that they were going to lose their republic, which they did. So they assassinated Julius Caesar on the floor of the Senate in 44 BC. It kind of backfired on him. So his heir, Augustus Caesar, eventually emerged as Rome's next ruler. Although Augustus assumed monarch-like powers, which is what they were afraid of, he also preserved some of their republican institutions. He removed corrupt officials, Roman officials, and he tried to revive the old Roman values of responsibility and self-discipline. His successors became emperors, and they were worshipped like God. So it actually got worse. What they were afraid of actually became worse, and these guys became all-powerful emperors. They made conquests to the north and to the east, and they expanded Rome's frontiers all across the Mediterranean. So Augustus brought a long period of peace called the Pax Romana, which you see over here. And it brought peace to Europe, it brought peace to the Mediterranean world, and they centralized their political authority. So they trained officials and in the traditions of laws and allowed them to rule effectively over these. They trained officials and they had traditions that allowed them to rule effectively over this large region. So Romans saw their culture as superior to everyone else. They generally respected local customs, but they provided a new system of laws. They promoted trade, and they offered Roman citizenship to anyone who lived within the empire. So the Romans were great engineers. They developed concrete, that way they could build these great buildings. They would run their huge empire by building this huge network of roads, which we talked earlier about with the Persians. So Rome became the center of communication, commerce, trade, politics, culture, military power for all of Western Europe and the Mediterranean world. So new cities became outposts of the Roman culture. Here's a great picture of the Colosseum. And the Colosseum they could pretty much do anything in there. And this is actually a reenactment of a sea battle inside the Colosseum, so it would fill it with water. And then the fall of Rome. So the expansion of the city-states of Rome changed its basic characteristics. The Roman army became a professional force, obedient to the generals instead of really obedient to Rome. So although Romans established the rule of law, they also recognized the ancient institution of slavery. And they had a huge force of slaves that worked within Rome, which turned on them eventually. Rome itself became the scene of bloodthirsty games. So these are people of law, but they had these bloodthirsty games that were like the conquest between the gladiators. Later, Roman emperors maintained their popularity by providing these games free. So it was just entertainment to keep people's mind off of, the bad things that were going on in Rome. So the Colosseum, of course, this immense concrete stadium was the one that had the games. And most of your major cities in Rome or outside Rome actually had Colosseums and for their local games. So Roman senators became corrupt, while generals developed political ambitions and fought against each other for wealth and power. And you have a great period of turmoil and chaos, and Rome finally was sacked. And in 476 AD, the last Roman emperor was overthrown in the West. but the eastern part of the Roman Empire becomes what's called the Byzantine Empire, and it lasts for another 1,000 years. So the legacy of Rome is sometimes difficult to distinguish what the ancient Romans invented and what they copied from other cultures. Romans took the best from other cultures and adopted it into their own. So an example, Romans worshiped the ancient Greek gods, just renamed them into Latin name gods. Romans delighted in making copies of Greek sculptures, and they read Greek poems, plays, and philosophers. The Romans also made many lasting contributions that influenced later cultures. So some of the achievements they gave us: law, which, remember, the 12 tables. A lot of the things that we get from the 12 tables in their early law we still use today. Language, they gave us Latin language, which gives us all of our European language: Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian, Romanian. Engineering, they built thousands of miles of road. They gave us perfection of the arch. They built aqueducts. Several. They actually had the dome also in their buildings. And then Christianity, which takes over as the main religion. This is the reason why Christianity is the largest religion today, is because of the Romans. And we kind of covered that already. So in an overview, Persia grew large and powerful through military conquest, building good roads, collecting tribute, and tolerating the difference among other peoples, other subjects. So the city-states of Greece grew prosperous through trade. Greek culture was characterized by a questioning spirit. That's why you had those philosophers. The Greeks made major contributions: art, architecture, literature, history, drama, philosophy, and mathematics. So the city-state of Athens is what gave us democracy. And in this city, all Athenian citizens could participate in making political decisions. So it's kind of like a direct democracy. So not all of Athenians were citizens, though. Women, slave, foreigners could not vote. And Rome was the heir to the Greek civilization. Early Romans developed a republican form of government where you elected representatives to actually go and vote for you. And as Rome expanded, it changed its empire, and the Roman emperor actually becomes godlike. So it also spread Christianity, which was a religion that rose in the Middle East, was adopted by the Roman emperor. Constantine becomes the religion of the Roman Empire. And the religion survived the Roman collapse. So under constant attack from outside tribes of its borders, the Roman Empire eventually splits into two parts. The western half, which is the capital of Rome, is overthrown by the barbarians and the barbarian tribes, and later on will become the Holy Roman Empire, and the eastern half becomes the Byzantine Empire. So some of the different characteristics: Greece, Rome, and Persia, the three that we talked about.